I hope that you can watch this entire talk so that you can be excited about what we have going on and all the nutrition information that we're here to give you. But most importantly, I just hope you guys are really excited about Dig Deeper and Dig Deeper. She has amazing Dig Deeper hoodie on. Get into it. I know you guys have seen us on camera. Both of us are in a bulking phase of our journey. We're both eating a ton. We're both competing in our next show this year. So it's super exciting. And I can say so many things about Kristen and why we're here. I think you guys know that by now. But we wanted to just talk about nutrition. I know a lot of you have had so many questions, and there are so many ways to eat out there. And the first thing I want to say that's super important, if you find a nutrition plan or a nutrition program or something that you want to do and it works for you, do it. In no way, shape, or form are we telling you not to do something, saying that what we do is better or other things is better than this. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as my friend Joanne, that I know says, at the ending of the day, she says, at the ending of the day, you have to do what works for you. And that is the baseline of this entire thing. We are here to give you factual information on mostly on what I did. And then Kristen is a doctor and she sees patients all day. She's a personal trainer. She has years of experience when it comes to nutrition, developing nutrition programs, taking people on journeys personally, not in the broad spectrum. So she's really, really good at the details of individuals, not just creating a program that is like kind of, all right, this is what you do as a blueprint. So we're going to get a lot of that information. But at the end of the day, at the ending of the day, the most important thing is you do what works for you. If you've done something in the past, you do what works for you. What I want to really stress today, and what Kristen and I want to really stress today, is give you the backstory on what I did over my, what is it, 15, 16 months before I hit the stage, and how I started out my journey, and how I'm I'm kind of burying the lead, and how I loved my body and my journey every step of the way, and the weight gain of it, the muscle gain, the workouts, and everything that we tell you that to apply to your workouts is also synonymous, or I should say goes hand in hand like Legos, with how I did my nutrition to get to the place that I looked and the way I felt mostly, and where I am today and where Kristen is today. So Kristen, welcome. They don't hear much from you outside of the workout, so you're here today.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
And also, I want to let you know, Kristen is all right. Kristen is the exact opposite of me. She's super, she's super calm, quiet. She does not want to be seen ever. So, I'm going to be loud. She's going to be there. So I just want to start and kick it off with my Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I came when I met you. I was, after you retreated my shoulder for I think maybe 6 weeks, and I was like, hey, can you be my personal trainer? Probably within the first 2 weeks. What You completely changed my nutrition. Like, I had never eaten that much before. I got my nutrition plan. I was like, what? I eat like maybe 2,000 calories a day. You want me to eat all this food? Tell me why you did that specifically for me, and what's information you get to make you say this is what Shaun needs.
So the first thing we kind of talk about when I met with Shaun was what are his goals? What is he trying to achieve? He's not trying to do just the same hit style cardio stuff anymore. We were really trying to put muscle on. He wanted to take his journey into a different venture. So we had to fuel your body to do that. It becomes a machine. So if we're going to burn a certain amount of calories, we need to replenish that, but we need to put a little extra in the tank if we're going to put that muscle on. So we talked about that. We talked about your current activity lifestyle, and he's a super active individual, constantly on the go. As you guys all know, he's on live camera over here. He's dancing over here. He's everything, constantly on the move. So we had to incorporate that into his caloric burn. We had to talk about, hormones and everything like that. That as we start going through life, because all of our hormones, especially for us ladies, hormones play a huge role into our diets. So adjusting that and looking at that stuff. So we've looked at that. Other things we talked about were how often you're willing to eat, what's a feasible time frame, or with your work status and lifestyle, is this possible to break this many meals into the like frequently throughout the day, because that's also really important to be able to keep our blood sugar stable. So that was kind of something we worked on. And
Yeah, I want to reiterate that, which is really important because in different nutrition programs, and I used to talk about intermittent fasting all the time, which I personally can't do right now the way that I want to train. And you hear like eat 5 meals a day, eat 6 meals a day, eat this, eat a snack here. They all work, but when you really dial in your nutrition to what works for you, one of the things that Kristen does really well, and I even say when she she transferred me to my bodybuilding coach, it was like, what can you do? What's not going to stress you out? And I mean, you're like that with training. You're like that when I don't know, physical therapy, you push me a little bit, but and training. But when it comes to nutrition, the basis of what I did was how do we enhance your quality of how do we enhance the quality of your relationship with food? Because it's at the end of the day, it's what can you commit to? And I remember when I started having to eat a lot, and I would come to you and I was like, "Oh my God, Kristen, like I'm so full." And you would either say, "Hey, try to get the meals in," and then sometimes she would say, "Hey, take your fiber at night because that will help you pass." And then sometimes you'd be like, "All right, maybe we can cut this back." And then my body started to want to eat, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And the next thing I know, I was 200 pounds and happy to be 200 pounds, where I was afraid to be 200 pounds. And I wasn't looking at myself at 200 pounds as like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting fat or I'm getting big." I looked at myself, I was like, "Okay, I'm fueling my body, I'm using it, I'm still doing my cardio." And I want to reiterate, at the time I was a 44-year-old male that wanted to gain muscle. I had to be put on hormones, which if you listen to my podcast, I'm gonna be super, super, super candid right now. Like my erections were trash, for how I was, and I started to get older. So then I had to go see a doctor for my personal hormones. And I think that, we'll talk about female hormones in a minute, but we talk a lot about female hormones. It's like okay to talk about, but when guys are afraid to talk about it because when guys have issues, it's erectile dysfunction, it's energy, it's mood, and guys don't like to talk about their emotions. So for me, that was my first intro into having hormones. And I remember, I don't know if it was you or my doctor, but I remember I had so many conversations with you, I don't even know. But I just remember someone saying like, wherever your mood is, like your natural mood, which me is like happy and jovial and excited, like getting my testosterone was low, but getting my hormones to a level that was back to what I feel like I should felt. Oh my gosh, like I internally became happier and found more peace. But that was also in combination with the fact that I wasn't depriving myself or being like, oh my gosh, I have to eat this because I have to have a six pack. It completely changed the recomp of my body. And the one thing I'll say before I ask Chris another question is when I started this journey, I didn't start a bodybuilding journey. I saw her and I'm like, I want to look like her. Not in a way of like, I mean, and like think about it. If it was a male, you could be like, oh, well, you can't, you're not going to have that body. Like she is a female. And what I was attracted to, she looks like the male version of Scott. So I was kind of attracted to her too. But, what I was attracted to was she was never tired. She was always like energetic. She looked super strong. She wasn't like stage ready at the time or anything like that, but you can tell she lifted weights. She wasn't focused on being skinny. Like she would touch me in certain ways during physical therapy. I'm like, golly, like, and then she walked by me and I was like, can you be my trainer? And she's like, yeah. So anyway, just kind of give you the backstory of that. I didn't start out to be a bodybuilder. I started out to be like, I want to feel stronger. I want to change my mood. I want to feel better in the bedroom. I'm 44 years old and I'm not doing power jumps anymore. And all of that changed with obviously me going to the doctor, getting my blood work every 30 days, and then lifting weights. So one of the things I want to jump to really fast, whether people want to lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight, and we're gonna dive into some like deep nutrition in a second, but I want to get this baseline. Um, one of the things when people start lifting weights, they say like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling fluffy." And can you talk about that for a second before I dive into it?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a kind of a, there's a lot of caveats to that question. So typically when we start feeding our bodies, depending on what you've been doing before.
Mhm.
So if you've been restricting calories for so long before, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna start training heavy and I'm gonna start eating this way, you have to allow your body time to adjust to a new lifestyle change. So even if you're burning more calories, you're training harder in the gym, you're creating more inflammation in your body. So you are going to get like an inflammatory process. You're going to look a little fluffier, especially if you've recently changed your diet. So at first, like with you, Shaun really struggled with having to add more calories. It was so foreign, just like for myself too. When I first did it, it's really foreign because I don't know if I want to say commercial body, like
No, say it.
commercial
Commercial fitness.
fitness, and everything we used to be taught was you can't eat anything, you have to restrict everything, you can't eat fat. And we've been taught so many different things over our life that's true now and not true and all these things. So it's sometimes you're like, well, where do I even go? Where do I begin? What's correct? So you really do have to figure out what works for you. But sometimes if you've, like I was saying, if you've restricted yourself for so long, it's really hard to, all of a sudden add food in and then expect your body to instantly do what you wanted it to do. So allowing yourself this process and you just say, hey, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to commit to this program. I'm going to eat the food. My goal is this. And you commit to it and you stick with it. And you just don't stress in the process because, again, stress is another thing that creates inflammation. And cortisol will go up, and then you start like holding weight because you're so stressed that you're not losing weight.
Mhm.
That's something you gotta just be like Shaun was like, I just kept telling him, just trust the process, just trust the process. Because it really became down to we're gonna follow this plan. And eventually it took a little bit of time for his body to adjust. But when he did, it really was, you could instantly see the changes in his body starting to come along because his body was like, oh, okay, we have to learn how to burn more calories. We need to learn how to utilize this. And we can't just rely on cutting calories all the time.
Yeah. Which, oh my God, two things. Remember cutting calories because I want to go to that. But one of the things that I talk a lot about recomp with this program, recompositioning your body, like body recomposition. And the morning of my show, oh my gosh, I might get emotional. Oh my God, I think I'm gonna get emotional. The morning of my show, I looked back from the day I started with Kristen, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just remember being like, yeah, I'm at this show and I'm 3% body fat. And the last like 7 weeks of a show is not what we're trying to get you to do. Like when you go in bodybuilding, full disclosure, is a point of like, you're trying to show your anatomy. So like 10 weeks out, I was feeling like really great. 3 weeks out, I was crying. But the point I wanted to say is I remember like when I told Kristen, I was like, hey, I want to do a show. The first thing she said was, I'm I'm concerned about your mental state when you do a show because I don't want you to get connected to your show day body. And from that point forward, I constantly was like, okay. And I was very aware. She was like, when you start doing your prep for your show, there's going to be a week that you're like, this is sustainable for me and I can sustain this for the rest of my life. She was like, and then you're going to get past that and that's not going to be sustainable. So she was like, mark that. And I remember being 10 weeks out, I was in France and I was taking pictures and I'm like, this is my sustainable body. Like if I ever stop bodybuilding or competing, I'm like, I know the calories at that time when I was 10 weeks out and how I felt. I was like, this is how I feel. So the reason why I say that is because with us in nutrition, it's not about getting to your high school weight. It's about finding a place where you can fuel your body, you can build enough muscle that you want to build, turning your body into a fat burning machine, having a healthy relationship with food. And what was the two words I said? I told you to remember.
Calorie restriction.
Calorie restriction. Yes, thank you. So that takes me to calorie restriction, and I'm gonna go into this space of I'm gonna give you an example of Survivor. I don't know how many people out there have seen the show Survivor. Most of us have. And you see these people show up and they look like normal people. Some of them are, quote unquote, fitter than the others when it comes to activity or lifting weights. You can look at somebody's body. and tell, like, I can tell somebody's a professional tennis player, a power lifter, a hit trainer at the gym. Like, we can tell what people do most of the time with their body, at least from our experience. But everybody on Survivor, after 3 months or however long they're out there, 80 days, if they make it that far, every single one of them, they did barely any workout. Maybe one of them climbed a tree or swam a little bit or did a couple competitions. But every single person in there could lose weight because of calorie restriction. They didn't have food. So when people say, "Oh my gosh, not just Dig Deeper, but any program, this program's not working, and I'm because I'm not losing weight," you're not losing weight because of the program. If your goal is to lose weight, you're not losing weight because maybe a medical issue, because I want to definitely throw that in there, medical hormones, or you're not eating the right foods to help you lose weight. And that's why I don't want to focus on your weight loss unless you do. I'm going to focus on, like Kristen said, fueling your body so that you have enough energy to get through the workouts. Because when you build the muscle later down the road, which is why I'm turning this particular challenge into 6 months minimum, later down the road, you're going to be like, holy fuck balls. Like, I can actually eat food and I'm not immediately going to be like, I'm going to gain weight because you're zoned. So anyway, you want to touch a little bit more on that,
Yeah, well,
just the fat burning
we
thing or
we
whatever.
kind of had talked about this too earlier when we were going over things we for sure wanted to say to you guys. It's when we go through these processes of dieting and losing weight and everything like that, we have to come to a sustainable point where we're like we feel good with ourselves. And I know for myself, and I'm not going to speak for Sean, but for myself, when I used to restrict myself so much, I wasn't present like in life. I was run down on energy. I was going through the motions. I was not even able to give my all in workouts. So then I couldn't even put muscle on. And I was even more defeated because I'm like, I'm eating, watching every single thing I eat. I'm training super hard. I'm not seeing results. And then you go into like a binging stage where you're like, I'm just going to eat everything in sight because it's not working. Where the second I switch my mentality from only restricting my food to, I'm going to eat, I'm going to trust this, I'm going to because this side obviously didn't work. So let's try this other one, which is
Mhm.
eating and fueling the machine and making sure I have balanced meals with some carbs and some fats and proteins to keep me sustainably full to my next meal. Um, it made a huge difference in my quality of life. I got to like we were saying, you know, I don't know if anyone else has struggled with this, but you have dinner plans with friends on the weekends and you like look at the menu days before because you're like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna get? Because I can't eat a certain amount or I don't want to put weight on if it's not gonna fit my diet. The more we both kind of trusted this process and dug deep into um, eating on meal plans and fueling our bodies and training hard, the less we had to worry about that stuff and our quality of life just got better. So I know a lot of you guys have all been saying you're eating and you're restricting and it's frustrating and you're struggling with a happy balance of food and that like unhealthy state with food, which we understand. We both have gone through it ourselves. There gets to be a point when you realize that when you put the right foods in and you're not scared of eating,
The fear,
it's
yes.
like such a fear that you develop. And it's super unfortunate that our society has made it that that's what we learned as kids is like you have to just restrict your food and everything will be okay. But it's like the opposite because you constantly concentrate on restricting your food and not eating. But we both have such a healthy relationship with food now. We don't think about like binging and eating everything you possibly can because you haven't eaten all week or you can't go out with friends and you can't enjoy life and you can do all that, you can build muscle, you can train hard, and you can truly build a sustainable life of this. And it's not just a plan that you're sticking to for 6 weeks, 6 months. This can be your lifestyle.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was one other thing, and then we're going to dive into some nutrition specifics because I know you want to get there. But it's really important for us to. You're looking at the two people who are on the screen with you, and how at this moment I'm 234 pounds, which I've never been before. I would be super afraid to get here had I not gone through this process. But the one thing I want to say is when you get stronger, for me specifically, again, I'm not expecting anybody out there to want to gain weight like I do. We're going to talk about how you can maintain, lose weight if you want to, or gain weight. But for me, when it comes to the like, just one more thing about the quality of life, on Sundays, Kristen would be like, go eat something. Like, she would be like, I know you and Scott like a good brunch. Like, I now go to brunch, I'll go get a 1,200 calorie meal of pancakes on a brunch, and I'm not freaking out because and I'm going to take it to the workout for a second. My energy expenditure and how much glycogen I use during my workouts. Like there'll be times where Kristen would say, and my coach would say, like, yes, Sunday go eat that burger that you always wanted, and Monday go do legs. Because you can utilize the fat, you can utilize the protein. Am I telling you to do that? No, because I also want you to do what you want to do. But what I'm trying to say is my quality of life when it comes to food and my relationship with food is so much better. And before we get there, when I was younger, and I talked about this, especially when I did Asylum, all of I was like super, super lean. You know, that wasn't a healthy time for, it was a healthy time for me physically and by way of fitness because I was like working out. I would go to Chelsea Pier in New York City. I would do a track workout. I would go work out. Then I would rehearse for my Asylum workouts. And I would do all this and do all this, but I wasn't eating in a way that fueled that because if I was eating the way I eat now, I would have been in Asylum. I would have been 205 pounds and looked like that. But again, commercial fitness is oftentimes about how can I restrict so I can get that after picture that takes me, to a certain weight. When in reality, a lot of people, not everyone, can be the same weight that they are now and look completely different, look stronger. The curves that you were afraid of before, you're going to put on jeans and be like, bitch, do you see me? Like, like my husband said to me last night, like he leaned down by the bed and he was like, I've always thought you were really, really hot, but you at 200, over 230 pounds, like you are literally the hottest you've ever been. And I'm like, thanks. Just don't get used to this because my back hurts and I'm doing this for my show. I have to build so and I cut back down. Anyway, I say all that to say there's so many benefits to you not restricting yourself when it comes to nutrition. And now let's kind of dive into some specifics so that you can take notes right now, have great takeaways, regardless of whether you do the nutrition plans that Beachbody has set in place. Like everyone knows, I've interviewed Autumn and Portion Fix when it comes to intermittent fasting. Everyone knows that I absolutely love Alana to be mindset because I think mindset is great. But there's also the way that I did it and how I really changed my relationship with food. And I'm able to actually eat a lot of fun things on the weekends that make me feel really good. All right. So years ago, in 2009, when I came out with the Workout Insanity, I had in there the Elite Nutrition Plan. And so I was trying to find something that you have access to, that you can relate to, that would be more like umbrella like for you to kind of follow. And so Kristen and I looked at Elite Nutrition Plan and we did, mainly her because she makes the diet. Sorry. I'm not sick anymore, I promise. It's just the leftover. You can take a look at that while I say this. But I looked at the Elite Nutrition Plan. I was like, hey, I really loved Insanity Elite Nutrition Plan because you can maintain, gain, lose, and I wasn't pushing weight. So I was like, how can we apply this and give our people something that is more in the lines of like what we did and tailor it? So three things. One, we're going to talk about the Elite Nutrition Plan a little bit, how we can change it. We're going to put a PDF for you so you can actually follow that. And then the last thing we'll talk about, well, I'll try to take some questions, but the last thing we'll talk about is Kristen is going to take 20 people and what she did with me. And it's an investment. I'm just going to be very honest. It's not cheap because you are getting nutrition. Your nutrition is going to be tweaked for those of you who have like really, really intense goals because getting the nutrition is an investment. But whether you can utilize her services or not, we're also going to talk about some of the things that she does and maybe that you can do to really look at yourself instead of weighing yourself, taking pictures of yourself instead of weighing yourself, and how you can like change and enhance your nutrition. So let's go to the Elite Nutrition Plan from Insanity, sent as mine, and it's on body. And so it's something that you all have access to because you're doing Dig Deeper. You want to dive into it?
Yeah. So we both kind of looked over the. I'm gonna pull it up just so I can have it up with you guys. We looked over the Elite Nutrition like program that was posted from Insanity, and this is actually something that is it's a good platform to follow. So it definitely encourages the consumption of food. It is not we're not going to eat anything, we're not going to do anything, we're just losing weight. So if you guys can pull that PDF up either now or at some other time, we're going to talk about it has a formula that you can follow. So if you guys are like, I want to try to do this on my own, I want to try to do this on my own. I don't want to hire someone, which is totally understandable and possible. I completely get that. When you work with me or someone, you usually get a little bit more personalized to you specifically, what you're going through, what body challenges you have, what your activity style is. So that's just a little bit of a difference. But when you look at that program, it has on page.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, you'll see there's step one. When you go to step one, it has sedentary lifestyle, moderate activity lifestyle, and a highly active lifestyle. You choose which category you fall in. I will say people tend to overestimate their activity lifestyle in the sense of what you do for work. So if you sit at a desk for the majority of the day, you're definitely going to go into that sedentary lifestyle. If you are, you know, like a personal trainer that's always moving around, lifting dumbbells, things like that, you would definitely go more into that moderately active lifestyle. And then the highly active, if you're a construction worker and you're on the go 24/7, constantly moving, those are kind of how you can pick those three categories that you would fall in. It then has you multiply your current weight right now times the number listed next to each one. So if you, for example, if you're at that sedentary lifestyle, you would multiply your weight times 12. So if you do that, it would give you your maintenance calorie needs. So once you take your maintenance calorie needs, that's what you need to maintain what you are currently at. If you then go to the next page, it has what the average calorie burn is for Insanity. And like I said, we're going to create a different PDF that we can post for Dig Deeper that you would multiply the calories by. This one says 600 for Insanity. We're not going to do quite as much for the Dig Deeper program. We're going to pump it down to about 500. So that's step two. So then you would take your maintenance calories plus 500, and that would give you kind of your caloric needs with Dig Deeper built in to kind of maintain where you're at. And then if in step three, it has you choose if you're trying to lose weight, maintain your weight, or gain weight. And sometimes if you're like, I don't know what I want to do, because that's a pretty common thing too, is they're like, I have a couple clients right now and they're like, well, I want to lose weight and I want to get leaner, but I also want to get stronger. So like with Shaun, we did a couple of those things like throughout our prep programming. We'd go through what we call like a bulking phase, which is putting some weight on, where you're eating a little bit extra, which is kind of trying to gain weight. And then we go through like mini cuts where we like cut calories down a little bit just to kind of lean out. So say you're someone that's like, I know I need to lean out a little bit. But right now, I really want to focus on building muscle so that I can have a greater caloric burn when I'm not doing anything. Then you might put yourself in that like maintenance to weight gain status because you want to put some muscle on. And then later on, we can kind of talk about switching it up for more of a fat loss. Um, for and then when you look at that PDF for weight loss, it has you subtract 500 calories. We'll cut that down. We don't want you to cut 500 calories. We would only have you subtract about 300. And then maintenance, you wouldn't change anything. And then for weight gain, you would add an extra 300 calories. So those are kind of your options so that you can, again, it's not quite as personalized directly to you, but this is a really good plan to follow to get you good results doing Dig Deeper, making sure you're eating. And then we can go a little bit more into depth. So that would give you your total calories throughout the day.
Wait 1 second.
So
I just want, no, no,
I
you're
get
not doing
excited.
anything wrong. No, 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 it's not. I want you to keep going, but like, I want you guys to understand the PDF that I'm talking about will be posted after this live, meaning like in the next day or so. We're going to create a PDF so that you have the Elite Nutrition Plan in your app from Insanity. So you can definitely download that because you're already a body subscriber. But the PDF that we're going to provide, we're going to post in this group so you can have access to it. I want you to just listen now, but this will be available. I know a lot of you are super excited and freaking out, like, where can I find it? But I just want to let you know we got your back here in Dig Deeper Nation. Okay, good. Sorry.
Yeah, and we're gonna update it too, so you guys see exactly the changes that we're talking about with it as well. Um, but this will kind of give you a good plan of these are the calories that I want to hit throughout the day. Now you can, like I talked to Shaun when we broke our program up into creating a diet for him. It was how many times can you realistically eat during the day? What is your job? If you're like, I have a job that I absolutely cannot have snacks during the middle of the day, then we know that your calories can only be broken up into a certain amount of meals, because you don't have time to stop and eat another time, and that's completely okay. That's acceptable. Just we like to eat every few hours so our blood sugar doesn't go through what we call these massive spikes. So when your blood sugar spikes and you don't have meals rich in proteins, fats, and stuff like that, and say it's a really carb dense meal, it's really going to spike up. So when it starts crashing, when your blood sugar starts crashing, your energy levels kind of drop with it. You can kind of get more irritable, things like that. But it also makes it harder to lose weight when you're going through big jumps and spikes. So if you had your calories and you're like, I realistically can eat 3 to 4 times a day, then we kind of try to break your calories down, divide it by that many meals a day, and you kind of try to aim for about that many meals per meal. Again, this is a generalized plan in the sense of we also, if we want to take it further, we put a little bit more of those calories around our workouts, like post workout. So you have extra energy from the calories you just burned and you can utilize that a little bit better. But I will go into a little bit more with this. For my ladies, don't be scared of fat. Like you do have to eat fat. Those are going to be part of your calories that you're consuming. You want protein for sure, but fats are what helps us men too. I'm just saying it's especially important for ladies. Our hormones are function with fat. So if we restrict fat completely from our diet or try to limit it, and we barely, you're like 10 grams of fat in a day, your hormones will tank. They have to have fat to produce and function. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I can't lose weight, my hormones are a wreck, but you're like, I don't eat any fat or anything like that, that's something to take into consideration. We definitely need to include fats. It helps you stay fuller longer. So if you have your meals or you have protein and you have some fat with it and some carbs, it gives you a balanced meal that allows you to keep your blood sugar gradually dropping till you get to your next meal, which it spikes in the, I should do it in the frame. So it'll come up when you eat a meal and it gradually drops off until you eat another meal and it comes back up, as opposed to say, I just ate a donut. Not that there's anything wrong with a donut, but it will spike it up with no protein or anything, and then it's going to drop much faster. So when we add that protein carb fat combination, we create a more sustainable and stable blood sugar
Yeah.
level.
And I want to be very clear. Nothing about what Kristen is saying, but I'm reading the comments trying to like see if there's something I need to respond to. And first of all, yes, we will post something in here of everything that Kristen's talking about. Two, I think we should post like a macro calculation of like the
Yep,
best
yep.
one that we want to use on that same PDF. Here's something that like a lot of people are going to think I'm being shady about, but I'm just being honest. What body has provided by way of the two nutrition programs that they provide for this, you have to follow that with what they gave you because that wasn't from me. I'm just letting you know. So I don't know enough about 2B and I don't know enough about Portion Fix to answer your questions about those two programs. That's something that you have to either look at the guide that they gave you or you have to reach out to somebody in body to give you the answers to that. I just don't know. And like I said before, I did have multiple conversations of wanting to create a nutrition plan specifically based on this, which would have been multi-layered for people. I saw someone ask a question like, what if I want to build muscle first and then cut later? Or like, what if I just want to lose weight but still gain muscle? Like, those would have been answered if I were able to create a program for this, but I wasn't. So I'm trying to provide you with the best amount of information while also giving you the freedom to do the other nutrition plans that's provided, which is why I'm taking a nutrition program like Insanity Elite Nutrition Program and going to tweak it to help it work better for Dig Deeper. But as far as the super intricate questions, that's why 20 people are allowed to go to her. And the other questions you have, I'm just doing the best that I can do. I'm not like mad, but I just want to let you know you have so many questions that I would have been able to answer had I created a program for this, but I wasn't able to do that. So I'm just trying to do the best that I can do. Most importantly, your mental state is the most important, and having a healthy relationship with food and not being afraid to eat, because a lot of people are afraid of doing my workouts. They're like, it's too hard. And I'm like, it's because you didn't eat. And going back to what Kristen said about the fat thing, like fat is energy. Back in the day when they started coming out with all these like low fat foods, like low fat cookies, low fat this, 100 calorie this, and there's no fat, but it's full with processed food and processed this. And, like my coach right now has me eating, he's like, add a tablespoon
Lots of
of
fat.
olive oil,
Yeah.
to give yourself that energy, because my workouts are really tough. I think you do this in the thing, does a thing. All right,
Funny.
we're going to talk about a couple little things because we don't have time to answer every single question. Just dive into menopause for a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about the supplements, specifically pre-workout protein synthesis, why to eat around your workout a little bit more, and then someone asked about creatine. So let's talk about. So Kristen is she has not been through menopause, so I think it's interesting when people try to teach you about menopause when they haven't been through it, unless they studied it for years. But she, as a physical therapist, she has had patients that came in that were struggling with that, and I don't want to take this away from you, but another thing that's like really important that will help your overall results is getting your blood work. Most times people get blood work one time a year. They're like, oh, I got my yearly physical. I get my blood work every 30 days, and probably every 60 days, I send it to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you think about this? So that's like what's happening inside your body. Had I been able to do a nutrition program for this, like we would have dove into that a little bit more too. So a lot of this is general and you listening to your body. But yeah, I just want to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Menopause.
Yeah. So again, like Shaun said, I haven't been through menopause yet, but I've dealt with quite a few patients that have gone through it. I'm talking to individuals. As we age, our hormone production is not going to be the same, and that is something that I strongly suggest people getting their blood work done and checked to see where they're at. I think sometimes women, myself included, we don't think our hormones, you assume what you're feeling is normal, or it just is supposed to happen, right? I'm getting older, I'm just going to feel this way. It doesn't have to be like that. So you can go get your blood work, you can get it checked, you can see where your level's at. And it's kind of crazy what sometimes, like, if your testosterone's super low, even as a woman, they can do some things about that, and your life can feel better. You're in the sense of energy, hunger, metabolism, things like that can improve with checking those. And sometimes people are like, I didn't even know that was something that people could do, and or is kind of considered normal to go get checked. And I do recommend people getting their blood work checked and maintained. So in terms of menopause and things like that, your hormone production automatically is going down. And that's something that, in order to counterbalance what your body is naturally going through, sometimes we have to adjust your diet accordingly. So it can be adding in additional fats and things like that, but it also comes down with timing of meals. um, Again, I know people do intermittent fasting and that works great for some people, but sometimes as we go through different times in our lives, that's not always the best option, because we do have to take into account our hormone levels. And if we're not feeding our system and our hormones are already fluctuating and our blood sugar is all unbalanced, we do need to add in some additional changes. So what maybe worked for us 10, 15 years ago does not work for us now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. People are saying, what blood work should I get? What blood work should I get? So I know what blood work I get every month. Like, I don't know what, I don't know if it's different for women,
It's
but
usually just a basic panel.
yeah.
A basic panel will give you kind of where your testosterone is, where your estrogen is, what um, your cholesterol and blood sugar, and most labs, if you order a basic panel or you talk to and I do recommend you talk to a hormone doctor or your registered doctor for this. When you're ordering it, you're saying, hey, I'm feeling these things, I'm feeling like I don't have energy. Communicate, these things are normal, it's not abnormal to feel these things. And people can do something to help you. It's not, you don't have to just live with it. So you're saying, I don't have energy, my sex drive is low, and that applies to women as well. If you're like, my libido does not exist, that's something you communicate with them as well. And that will show up in your panel. And you can address all these things and actually will help, again, quality of life, energy with workouts. So these are things that I would recommend. And again, it would just be a basic panel.
Yeah. So I get, if I read through this, do you know everything that I was gonna say? She's a doctor. So glucose, we already know what glucose is. I'm gonna just,
So it's like,
my
yours is a metabolic.
yeah, I'm doing a metabolic panel. You want to tell them what that is? Basically?
It's just like your metabolic readings, glucose, everything like that. It's your basic standard readout. Places will call it different things. It usually is included with a basic blood work panel.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you what I get, and I'll get into the testosterone because I do see one gentleman ask. So I get glucose, I get bun. I forget what bun is. You know what the bun is? BUN.
Yeah, it's I'd have to look exactly on
Yeah.
it for, but yeah.
But I just tell you, like, creatine, sodium, potassium. I just get a metabolic panel. That's the overall thing. And then I do a CBC, which is like
Just looking at your blood
all
counts.
my blood counts and everything. And then I get like a lipid panel, cholesterol, triglycerides. So, and then I get a thyroid panel. My doctor gives me,
This is all within a basic panel.
this is all within a basic panel. And then my testosterone, my estradiol, which is your estrogen, and my prostate specific AG, which is, I'm not sure how active it is. People say like it can't talk about as much as what's going on in your testes, but
Mhm.
I get that. But so I want to answer for me because I know we talk about a lot about women, but for men out there, and this is probably TMI for some people, but like I feel like if women can talk about breastfeeding, which I totally feel, or low sex drive or whatever, or your menstrual cycle, we can talk about this. Like for me, when I was getting intimate with my husband, which is often, um, my erections were just not fully there. And this is an adult conversation. Hopefully, there are no kids around, but I know what it feels like when I'm like, when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, you know, I have an erection. I know what it feels like. I just know what it feels like, and that started to be like a little bit off for me. Also, was a little bit. It was also around the time of my shoulder surgery. It was I had gotten blood work done, and um my estrogen was like really high. I was like super stressed around that time, not because of life, but just because I was able to work out. And you could see it when I was doing my Beachbody on Demand interactive workouts. Like I was not able to do push-ups. I wasn't able to do like a lot of things about my shoulder. Anyway, so the stress of it, and then you know, I just remember talking to a friend, and they were like, "You should get your blood work done more." Actually, I was talking to a friend, but my doctor, my shoulder surgeon, was like, like I was sharing this stuff with him, and he was like, I want to get a hormone panel done. I just want to see where your levels are. But then he got like a full blood panel, which I now get pretty much every month. Um, and then we saw my testosterone was low, and he was like, "Oh, like this is it." And then my first introduction to testosterone is I went to a clinic in Texas, And I remember, I don't know if it was you or them, was telling me like, hey, give it like a month, like to see the changes. Oh my God. She's not going to be surprised that I'm going to say this, but this is real. I just remember saying, I was having an intimate moment with Scott, and he was like, "Oh, okay," like, because he was like, "Oh, like I don't know if it's different." And then after a month of me being on my testosterone, and he was like, "Oh, now I see what you were talking about." And so, but it was like being over 40, because when we get older, it's harder for us to build muscle. Like my energy, my mood. I'm naturally happy, but I was like going to therapy because I was just like, something's wrong with me mentally. So all of that and my hormones like completely changed my mentality. I mean, there were times that I was going through it, and before I was like getting the testosterone shots to level me out, like I would go into the gym and I remember crying to you for the first time. I felt so bad. I just remember crying to her for the first time because I was just like, my hormones were like so crazy. My estrogen was really high. So we had to level that up. These are all of the things that I was doing. And I talked about this in my podcast a while ago, like changing these things, eating more food, lifting weights. Now my body is literally a fat burning machine. And I am like, people put in comments like they put needle, needle, needle. Like, I'm like, yes, I take testosterone. I'm not going to walk around here not being able to get an erection. Like, and why is it okay for women? I know women who get testosterone, and a lot of them don't talk about it. Like, one of my really good friends didn't realize her testosterone was low. She wasn't being sexual with her husband. She went to the doctor. They changed that around. She was like, my husband's really happy now, And so there are all these different, and there's so many different things that are happening in your body. And I know I create fitness workouts, but this process of starting with Kristen has taken me to another level where now I'm studying that stuff. Like, I want you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm going to be talking a lot more about this stuff that's uncomfortable to talk about, and giving you small tips that will help you. I wish that we could answer every single question. I really, really do. Because obviously, when it comes to health, there's so much more. I have Kristen. I'll try, even I'll try to bring in some other doctors that are you throughout this process, these next 6 months, that are really like privy to more stuff than I know. For me, I just know I'm experiencing it. Kristen has helped me with nutrition and a lot, and healing my body. You guys have the workouts. The workouts are phenomenal. I do want to also make reference to, we're going to we will post a link to my YouTube channel. Uh, I want to make reference to, while we're talking about nutrition, it's really important. I wasn't able to create a nutrition program for Dig Deeper, but it was important for us to at least give you as much information as we could around this and what we did. Two quick housekeeping things. We're going to post something in here. So if you want to hire Kristen for a 3-month process, we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you right now, it's an investment. And every Kristen and my coach and any other nutritionist that you get out there, it's an investment. It's not $5 a month. So I'm just going to let them know. But the detail that you're going to get when you fill out the intake form is extremely detailed. If you get annoyed at taking out this particular, if you get annoyed at filling out this particular form, you don't want a, a nutritionist, or someone helping you with your nutrition, because it is like weekly check-ins. It's changes to your nutrition. You have to follow it to a T. This is not like, oh, like, Kristen's really good at giving you a Sunday like fun meal. So, but I think I really believe that your quality of life when it comes to food will be much better, because now you have somebody that's helping you go through this to feel better, change your body, and not just focus on you losing pounds, but more gaining and turning your body into a fat burning machine. But back to the workouts. Last thing, we're all starting today. 2024 for me is about quality of life. We have our check-ins that we're going to do in this group, and it's going to be super exciting and super fun. But at the end of the day, your quality of life is extremely important to me. So when you do these workouts, your quality of life includes eating food, trying to be less stressed, going into the workouts less about, oh my gosh, it's going to be hard, and being positively selfish when you push play and you're like, and being selfish is like, yes, my muscles are burning right now, but you know what, muscle, you deserve that. And I deserve to push myself to this next level. The first split that we did was split one, which is these giant circuits that you are doing. You're doing it for a month. You're only doing each workout 4 times. So don't tell me like, oh my gosh, we don't get to do a different workout every day. No, you don't. Like when we work out in the gym, we do the same workout because we want to build that same muscle using the same cues in the same way. When we get to split two, it'll just be Kristen and I on camera while we have a lot of fun. You're going to get more tips from Kristen throughout that process. It's going to be crazy when you get the split three. It's just me. It's the build phase, and you're going to combine all of that, and we'll build together. Obviously, I've been in fitness for 25 years. Obviously, I know a lot about lifting weights, but this woman right here has literally helped me transform my career into being able to bring you this. And like I said, I would love to be able to answer every single question you have now. And I know you have questions if it over the next 6 months, but we're going to answer them as best we can. I also want to say congratulations to all of you. We are the largest fitness Facebook group on Facebook. So this is like, thank you to you guys for being here, for trusting me, for trusting the process, for being with me for, a lot of you have been with me since Hip Hop Abs and have gone through the journey. And I'm at a place where I'm going to sustain this. And this is super fun and super great. That's why the challenge is 6 months long. The first 3 months, we're going to follow the challenge exactly. The last 3 months, you guys are going to do a cut with me, switch some things around to my next bodybuilding show. For those of you who are like, oh, I want to see what that's like. We're not going to, you're not going to go into the deficit that I'm going to go into, but it'll be a fun way for us to stay motivated. And then hopefully some of you will be in New Jersey. I'm hoping to have a Dig Deeper Nation event around the time of my show. I'll probably be walking around on stage and people will be working out because I'll probably be too fucking depleted to work out. But trying to do that to build up the community here and keep you guys engaged. I know we said a lot. The nutrition PDF will be posted in here. We're going to make sure that we do that, get all the specifics. The Elite Nutrition Plan is in Body Under Insanity, so you can find that there, at least to read through it. I really challenge you to actually read through it. I don't have my readers here, but if you wear readers, put them on, read all the way through. Again, even if you've done it, so you can see how, when we do post a PDF, how you're going to change things around. And then I want Kristen to give, I'm not going to say anything after you're done. You're going to get the final words here. I know she really hates it. Except when she's on camera. There was her first time on camera for Dig Deeper, and she was like super, super nervous. And I'm like, girl, you motivated me. Like, just be you and say what you gotta say. So Kristen's gonna close this out. You can talk about whatever you want to finish it strong.
Honestly, I want to say thank you guys for welcoming on the team, like part of the program too. It's been super fun, and I really have appreciated all the love and support. Because as Shaun just said, I'm super camera shy, and this is not my realm. I'm like a behind the cameras person, so this has been really fun. For any of you that want to work with me, Shaun will send out some stuff with it, and I truly want to help you achieve your goals, and this is what I thrive on. This is what I love doing. So I'm really excited to work with you and keep posting. If you guys have questions and we didn't get to them, you can go to some of the things we've posted and comment and just tag me in it or Shaun, and I'll try to go through and kind of start answering.
Even on Instagram, right?
Instagram.
Yeah, if you have a question for Kristen, sorry, I don't want to cut you off,
I
but
appreciate it.
To be specific, and then you can hit her in the DMs if you want, but she will get the notification that there's a comment. So if you want to go to one of the posts that she and I collaborated on together, you can go to her page and just comment with a question. That'll help too. Someone asked how you're choosing the 20. At the ending of the day, when we post the information for you to be part of the 20 with Kristen, it's going to be extremely detailed what you get, what to expect from you, what to expect from her, and there is clicking the button to purchase. At the end of the day, if you purchase the plan, you'll get it, but you'll have a lot to fill out. So, but we'll let you know as we go through when the 20 is over, so you don't when we get to that 20, so we don't have you fill out information that's not there anymore.
Yeah. It's just information to make sure we're going to work together well, that you're committed, because it does take a lot from both people. I'm going to give you my all. I ask for you to give me your all as well. So it's a commitment that you really want to make a change, because if you're like, I kind of want to do it, but I know I'm not going to check in every week. I'm not going to follow the diet. Then I'm not going to hunt you down to kind of work with you and things like that. So I really want you to be passionate about it too, because I am super passionate about it. Shaun was one of those. He would check in with me daily. He would check in with me. So it makes the
I
process
just love
really
taking
fun.
pictures for you in my underwear. I'm like, oh, I get to send Chris pictures of me in my underwear. Bathing suits. You guys know me. I'm messy and fun. All right, final words to motivate them for 2024, and I'm going to turn this off.
I said it last night. My word for this year is fearless. So I hope you guys join me in being fearless and digging deeper, joining this program, working with us, and letting us transform your life. Because
Yeah, go. No, go.
I'm excited for you guys to join us.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. She knows me really well. We forgot to talk about the protein and pre-workout and
I
creatine.
know. That's why I was like,
Damn it.
comment, because I will answer all those questions. I'll maybe put a post out later about pre-post nutrition, just because I see that's one of those like things that are coming up a lot. I'll also put something on the PDF about it.
All right,
just so
we'll
you guys
do that.
have that.
But I will say this, just to give you a quick tip. Obviously, I do my pre-workout before I work out. Some people do it 30 minutes before. I actually do it kind of right before. I love the tingle when I start to move, and these workouts are so hard that you like burn through it quick. But for me, when it comes to the Beachbody Recover, it's my favorite protein that I've ever had. It doesn't make my stomach hurt. It feels really good. It digests well. But you know how at the end of every workout, I tell you to do your steady state. I do my protein before. Kristen would be like, "You have cardio? Go do your protein shake, or go eat your protein before you get in cardio, because you want that protein to."
Fuel that workout you just had. I will say that's probably the one meal you're very post workout. Just a little caveat before you sign off. That I'm not super crazy if you like obsessed and worried that you have a lot of fat in. That's when we want to focus on more carbs and proteins. The fats are going to slow down the absorption of those two nutrients, and we want those two to fuel the muscle right back up. And we'll kind of target our fats around it. But for myself, Shaun's a little different. I can't eat 2 hours before my workout. It's just how my digestion is. I don't feel good when I train, so I consume a meal within 2 hours before I go train. Shaun's a little different. He can eat
75 minutes.
he can
30
eat like
minutes.
right before. I cannot. So power to you if you can do that. But you do want protein and carbs again in that meal as well, because you're going to deplete that, and then your post workout for sure you want carbs and protein.
What about creatine?
Creatine, I know everyone keeps asking. It is something that will help retain water in your muscle bellies. It is something also I'm not going to always tell you absolutely have to have, in the sense of, yeah, full muscle bellies over here. It's something you do want to check your blood work with though too, because you don't want to just be putting a ton of creatine if your kidneys and filtration system's not working well. So I recommend getting blood work. Do you need it? Absolutely. No, you do not absolutely need creatine. Does it help? Yes, it's a supplement that you can add in. It's not going to make or break your journey.
I
If
don't.
that makes sense.
I never. I took the last time I drank. I took creatine was when I was in college. That was the
Yeah.
last. I don't like, even though my coach had it on my post workout like shake. I just don't. I mean, sometimes I have BCAAs, or I have like, I have my aminos. Like, I have like little things. I put different things like glutamine and like stuff in my shake. But I'm a whole foods kind of person, and I like my pre and post workout. I try to keep nutrition as simple as possible. But if creatine works for you and it fills your muscle bellies up, great. All right. I know I said I was gonna let Kristen in this, but I think I am,
Yeah.
because just because there's so many things that keep popping up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. At the end of the day, I love how Kristen said fearless. So we can combine that. So let's be fearless when we're going after enhancing our quality of life. Like, that is it. Go for it. Dig deeper. Somebody asked a question about steady state. If I tell you at the end of the workout, do a steady state, you go out for 20 minutes, you can walk your dog, you can walk around the neighborhood, you can get on your bike, you can check your email while you're doing all these things. I'm not asking you to do insanity, even if you want to throw in a B25 workout and just ride, not necessarily follow the intensity of it. Just do like 20 minutes of something, because
We just want to get that heart rate up. We want to get our steps in. We want
your heart is important too. So we try to add that, but we're really focused on building muscle here. All right, that's all we got for today. I know I can answer 10,000 more. We can answer 10,000 more questions. I appreciate you. Thanks again for being here. We are 121,000 strong, which is really amazing. So tell people about Dig Deeper Nation. Beachbody